Welcome to Landlord Diaries, where we talk about midterm rentals and the opportunities behind them. We'll share landlord stories, talk about maximizing investment potential, and discuss how to live the very best landlord life. This podcast is proudly brought to you by Furnished Finder, the place for everything midterm rentals. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy our content.
Hey everyone, I'm Katie Lyon. I'm a member of the Furnished Finder team and your co-host. Today we are here with Dee, and Dee is like the definition of you think something up and you prove it and then you multiply it. So she scaled the number of doors that she has to offer traveling medical professionals very, very quickly and still did an amazing job at furnishing them and styling them. So there's so many great tips and tricks to take away from this episode. I can't wait for you all to hear it. And I just want to remind everyone that this episode and every episode of the Landlord Diaries is brought to you by Furnished Finder. We are the one-stop website for all things midterm rental. If you are listing a property, it is only $99 for an entire year.
Hi, how are you? I'm great. Thank you for having me. So basically, all inclusive is kind of what it sounds like. It includes everything: utilities, all the extra amenities, depending on the location, anywhere from swimming pools, fitness centers, the gym, which is kind of different. Some of them have stretch centers, rooftop lounges, rooftop decks, courtyards, things like that. So everything is included. Um, and basically, it's flex term because basically our guests pretty much have control over how long they stay. It's not like long term signing a long term lease. So basically anywhere from 30 days to 60 days to 90 days or more. But they have more control over that. So that's basically what flex term housing is. So basically, we were kind of in the height of COVID, and I was trying to figure out, I was kind of in transition for myself as far as my life was concerned as well. And I wanted to figure out, what is my next step? What is it for me to do? And so I was hearing all these stories of medical professionals, traveling nurses, traveling in the height of COVID, having problems, finding a safe place, comfortable place to stay, connecting with people that they can trust in the meantime of trying to find a place to stay. And I was just like, okay, how can I contribute to that? And so just basically woke up one day, got in my car, didn't know what I was going to do, didn't know where I was going to go, didn't know what I was going to say, and just got in my car, pulled over on the side of the road, tried to get it together. When I came up on the first property, I walked in and just told them what I was trying to do, and I was thinking either they're going to say yes or no. And if they say no, I'll just go to the next place. And that's kind of where it started. I really was.
So Dee, tell us, are these all then rental properties that you are arbitraging, which a lot of our audience will know what that means, but for those that don't, you are renting a property and then furnishing it, improving it, and then re-renting it out to someone else, in essence.
Exactly.
We'll call that the Cliff Notes version. Or have you purchased these properties? And the second part of my question is, how did you scale it so quickly?
Um, exactly. It is properties that I'm renting and then renting them out to other people. I did not purchase any properties at all. And how I scaled it so fast, it was just the demand. It was, I only had one apartment suite. I had furnished that and fully stocked that. And before I could get that one finished, I got a call for another and a call for another. And so I was like, okay, this is picking up really fast. So I'm like, okay, let me get this first one filled. As soon as the first person moved in, I was in the stores, I was placing orders, I was scoping out and trying to make decisions on how I was going to get the next one and the next one filled. And literally it just happened just like that.
And tell us, how are you getting the word out when you say, as before you even had the first person moved in, you had more demand coming in, which is the best problem to have. But how are you getting the word out? How are you finding these potential tenants?
Furnish finder and word of mouth, and going to the hospitals in the area, um, just talking to people and then them sharing if they knew somebody and then they spoke to somebody. So basically, word of mouth and furnish finder.
Love it.
Yeah, setting up your business is definitely the easy part because you can be at home, you can be in your car, you can set that up on your phone or on your desktop or on your laptop, and it takes probably less than 15 minutes. If you have a name for your business, if you have an address for your business, um, that's pretty much all you really need to get started. You put in your information. Exactly. Exactly. Yes. Went to the state site for the state of Missouri and answered all the questions, typed that information in, and you get your EIN. Well, I got my EIN number on the spot. I didn't have to wait for that. And that was shocking because some things were delayed, and it did give you a message like, okay, there may be a delay because of the situation with COVID. But there was no delay. I got that immediately. And I just immediately just kind of, because I didn't know. I mean, I had a business before, but it was a totally different business. I owned a beauty salon in Texas. And so that was totally different. And for this, it was just like I was just learning as I went. So it's very easy to get that part set up.
Yeah. That's amazing. I have found that, I mean, the LLC formation process is different in every state, but here in Colorado, they just passed a piece of legislation that, well, it went into effect on January 1st, that the cost to form an LLC is now $1. It's $1. So a lot of places are trying to make it really, really easy to support small business. And even getting an EIN, man, that sounds really intimidating. It is not. You can totally do it. And there are a lot of resources to walk you through online, that's something that any property owner is fully capable of doing themselves. So, be confident. Go in there and do it.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes, exactly. I did not want my personal address, connected to my business. I didn't want my personal address out there, period. I just wanted that part to be private. So I connected with a registered agent that serviced Kansas City, Missouri. And when you do that, you can use the registered agent's address and phone number, or you can have your own phone number. So basically, I got a phone number through the registered agent's office, which is, they're two separate services. And what they do is once you set your business up, then they get, like, you can have your mail go there and they'll send you emails, and they'll send you an email and say, okay, you need to open this message, and you can view your mail that way. And so if any kind of emergency comes up, they'll notify me as far as the business is concerned. So they just keep me on top of things with the mailing aspect of it, or the business aspect of it. Anything that comes from the state, they'll put like an emergency message or notification, so I'll know that this is really important.
Now, Dee, I'm going to circle back to your properties a little bit. Are all 14 of your doors within the same apartment complex, or how many apartment complexes are you working with?
Right now, I'm working with three. They're in different locations. One in Lee Summit, and then two in two different locations in Kansas City, Missouri. So we have another one in Uptown and another in Westport.
And how are you going about pricing these different properties? And what is your vacancy rate like?
The way I go, I do comparative pricing for what I'm offering, and my prices are a little bit higher because of the properties that I'm partnered with. We've had a lot of people transfer from properties that they've come from that, okay, they wanted something different or presented it as something different. And so we try to stand by what we present. Whatever you see, that's what you get. But we try to keep our prices compared to the higher standard based off of one bedrooms, two bedrooms, whatever the apartment size. Um, what was the other question?
What's your vacancy rate like? I know I like to do dual questions, which is not fair to anyone.
Um, Pretty much I stay full for the most
Good.
part.
That's
This is like
amazing.
maybe in 1 month I've had one unit vacant, and then by the time I get that one filled, maybe the month will roll over and I'll have another one vacant. At one point in time, one time I had three vacant, but right after I figured I had three vacant, then I filled them all up. So
Good.
I pretty much stayed full. And I got up to
That's
16
amazing.
actually.
Wow. It is. Mm-hmm.
I would say, and the one thing I didn't do that you did was that I didn't make any phone calls initially because I wanted to see, first of all, I was checking them out before I allowed them to check me out. I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
see if this property had what I wanted to offer. Because if they didn't have what I wanted to offer, there was no reason for me to approach them with what I needed from them. Um, so basically, it took me maybe eight. And some of them said yes, but some of the ones that said yes, once I connected with some of the people and I got a better understanding of the property, because to me, if I'm gonna offer a service and I'm gonna say, okay, we offer this service, this is the type of business that we run, and this is the type of property that we want to provide for you. then I also want to find out about maintenance and all of these other things, because you're kind of in a vulnerable situation when you say, okay, you're going to provide this kind of class A service, but then you connect yourself with maybe a property that doesn't provide that service and you have no control over that. So that's where it was just like, okay, me making the decision. They told me yes, but do I really want to move forward with this property? So yeah, I didn't make any phone calls, and it took me about 8 before I got my first yes. And the first yes, the property was brand new; they hadn't even opened yet, and um, I saw the property itself, but that particular day before I got the yes, I wasn't even able to directly speak to someone. So that was the first time that I had to make a call because I was really interested. It was very beautiful and I wanted to talk to somebody. And she immediately was just like, "Oh, yes, of course." And I was like, "Okay, so we're going to do this." So that's kind of how that went. Because I'm a luxury type girl. I
Love
mean,
it.
for me, anything I want for myself, I want to be able to provide for other people. Like when I told you I used to own a beauty salon. I never tried any product on anyone that I didn't try on myself. So my hair was many different colors. But that's the type of mindset that I have. If I want to be comfortable and I have a certain standard for myself, then I'm definitely going to have a certain standard for my business and I want to provide that type of service to, my guests.
All right, Dee, I'm going to ask you a question, and Kelly knows this, and some of our listeners probably know this. I'm the queen of asking uncomfortable questions. So you can always
Go for it.
bypass. If you don't want to answer a question, that's okay. But I'm sitting here thinking luxury, high end. We're not getting all of our furnishings at Walmart, and yet we've furnished 14 apartments in 6 months. Tell me how you funded that. Because Kelly and I both have furnished rentals. And while it is a lot more affordable to furnish a midterm rental than, say, like a beach house for Airbnb, it's still all that little stuff adds up.
It really does. But my thing was, when they talk about bootstrapping, I started with nothing. And I mean, this may sound crazy, and people may say, okay, she's not being honest about this. I literally bootstrapped because I had nothing to start with. So whatever I made, I simply put it back into the business. And I had to shop really fast, but I had to make very wise decisions. And how I did that was basically making up my mind what the theme was going to be for that particular unit. Okay, and once I decided what the theme was going to be for that particular unit, then whenever I went out to the stores, predominantly because everything was going so fast, it had to be hands on. I had to see it in a store. I did get some little odds and ends online, but pretty much it was me packing my car with things that I saw at this store, things that I saw at that store. And when one person filled one unit and they paid their rent and they paid their deposit, I was using that money for the next one.
And are you comfortable sharing roughly how much it costs you bootstrapping and looking for deals and shopping locally to furnish each apartment? Because I think this is something Kelly and I are going to start exploring more on the podcast because we do get so many questions about it. And it's something that Kelly and I talk offline a lot about. I'm like, hey, what do you put in your kitchens? What do you put here? Oh, I'm looking at a 2 bedroom versus a 1 bedroom. How much
Ooh,
is that going to charge? Like, how much is that going to change my total furnishing price? So,
oh, it changes
what
your
area
total
do
furnishing
you,
price pretty
it
much.
changes it. Even I've done a 1 bedroom versus a studio, and even that changes it, man.
Yes. Um, so basically, as far as furnishing, it cost about, and that's going to vary because it depends on what you want to put in it. Like my first unit, it's Hollywood Regency style. And so that one was more expensive because of what I put in it. First, it was my first one, and I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, I have history and experience in interior design, but the interior design aspect of it and the actual shopping for this was totally different. Yes, I had to design it once
Mm-hmm.
I got everything, but getting everything so fast, it was just like, okay, I don't have a budget. I really didn't have a budget because I didn't
Right.
have any money for real. But it was
Right.
just like finding little tidbits, finding things on clearance, finding things on sale. And that first one cost me about $6,000.
That's still not awful.
It's not, because it was fully furnished and fully stocked, and the rent was paid, and the utilities were on, and the insurance was paid.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's awesome. Especially you think an Airbnb, to furnish an Airbnb house is probably more like 30. So,
I probably could do that one on a less budget too. I'm pretty thrifty.
right?
Exactly.
Love it.
Properties require rental insurance, basic rental insurance, because you're a resident. Your business is a resident. So they just require you to have basic renters insurance for that particular unit. So each unit you obtain, you just have to have renters insurance for that unit. Some of the properties offer rental insurance through their company, their management company, and you can just pick that up there. But some of the other ones you have to have your own. And for me, I just get the renter's insurance. But of course, you got to have business insurance because you want to be covered as a whole. And so I have
Mm-hmm.
the business insurance, I have the rental insurance that they require per unit, but I also require my guests to have renter's insurance because I'm not living there. So if something happens, it's not going to cover me, it's going to cover them. And because I'm not living there, I'm not really in control over the choices that they make. So they need to be covered for whatever happens while they're there. Like I had a scare, and there was a guest, and he had worked a 14-hour shift, came in and wanted to cook breakfast, and he put the food on the stove and fell asleep. And so crazy enough, I had just pulled up in front of the property, right? And I'm sitting in the car running some numbers, and I'm hearing all these sirens go off. I'm like, what is going on? And so I see a fire truck, and a fire truck pulls up in front of me in my parking spot. And I'm like, man, what's happening? I'm just sitting there. Then I see another fire truck. Then I see another fire truck go around the back of the building. I see police cars pull up. I'm just like, okay, let me get out. So I get out and I walk in, and the first thing I asked, I was like, "It's not one of mine, is it?" And they say, "No, it's not one of yours." I was like, "Okay, whoever it is, I hope they're okay. I hope everything's okay." So then, I see more firemen coming in the door, and I asked somebody else. I was like, "Are you sure it's not one of mine?" They was like, "No, it's not one of yours." So the assistant manager, she was pregnant at the time, and she wasn't there at first, but I see her come, waddling down the stairs, and she stops and she looks at me. She was like, "You know what?" I said, "What is it?" She says, "It's one of yours." I'm
Oh
like, "Oh
no.
my God, what is happening? Is everything okay?" So I'm, like freaking out. She's like, "It's on the third floor." So I get on the elevator, go to the third floor, and it's literally one of mine. But everything was okay. But I would have been covered with the insurance had something happened. But nothing
Mm-hmm.
happened. So that was good.
Good. Good. That's awesome. Mm.
Oh
Oh
no.
no.
Oh, good deal. Yeah.
That is crazy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he messed up the pot, but hey, I'll get another pot. That's fine. So
It's
yeah, there was
it's
no damage to the
it's
property
great
there.
too because that insurance is typically it's not crazy expensive, but this also serves a reminder for even if you own your property, you need to have landlord insurance and not homeowners insurance.
Exactly.
Um, because those are two very different things. And no matter how you're renting out your property long term, mid term, short term, whatever it is, if something happens and you need to make a claim and you have a renter there and it's not your primary residence, you're going to be in a real bad place. So, props to all the insurance brokers out there who are handling all this. I do not envy you. All right, let's talk about something more fun because insurance. Interior design. Kelly and I are always encouraging everyone on the platform to use professional photographers and show off your space. And you do such a great job with this. I would love to hear some of maybe like your top 3 interior design tips for users to help their units stand out. Kelly does an amazing job with her units. I actually use an interior designer on mine because I get a case of the overwhelmies when I look at all the options and I'm like, too many options. I quit. So, but you've done such an amazing job that I think
Thank you.
just a few tips for our listeners would be so helpful.
So basically pay attention to your space, as far as size of furniture. That's the first thing, because if the furniture is too small, then you're going to have to spend a whole lot more money filling that space because you don't want it to look empty. So if you get furniture that will fit that space, that will fill more room in that space, that's the best thing. And you want to get your biggest pieces first. And the first thing that I always think of is the top 3 pieces. So the top 3 pieces in your living area is going to be your couch, your coffee table, and if you're going to use a TV stand, or if you're going to use just something to fill that space under your TV, those are the first 3 pieces that you want to think about. And then the other thing is furniture placement. Where are you going to place your couch? That's the first thing that you really do need to think about when it comes to, okay, I'm going to get these 3 pieces, but where am I going to put it? Okay, because then you want to make sure that how you place your furniture, if you're going to have a TV, and most of the time you want a TV, where's the TV going to go versus where the couch is going to go? And then everything else is just like filling in the holes.
Love it. I don't think so. I'm looking at these questions about profitability and cash flow per unit. And those are piquing my interest, Kelly. Let's hear it. Let's hear it, Dee. How is your company doing with scaling so quickly? I'm assuming it's going to take, a little bit to get into the black. But what's your typical cash flow per unit, and what are some of your goals for your continued growth?
Um, so the cash flow per unit varies. And that's going to vary, first of all, of course, on the size of the unit, because we have studios, we have one bedrooms, we have one bedroom dens, we have two bedroom, two baths. Um, and it's going to depend on competition, because you have to kind of fluctuate your pricing depending on what's available out there. Um, but cash flow began, and things have kind of changed. Cash flow began anywhere from, I say, 900 per unit, 5 to 9. I'll put it like that, per unit. Um, and like I said, that kind of fluctuates depending on what's going on in the market at the moment,
Right.
what's out there, what the competition looks like, how many other units are available through other companies and businesses and people. So you just kind of have to pay attention to that monthly, and then you make your changes accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
For the future, um, what I am thinking about doing is adding more studios, because they are in higher demand. Um, then the one bedrooms are next, but studios are in higher demand. It's less overhead, and so I think I want to add more of those, because you're making more money on the back end when you're doing the studios because they don't cost as much.
The arbitrage that I have is a studio, and I love it. My electric bill last month was $18.
Are you kidding me?
It was $18.
Wait, wait.
I was like,
Was
what is
somebody living
this? Yeah. Yeah. And I was like,
there?
it's fantastic.
I want that one.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. It's a studio, and it's a commercial on the ground floor, and then it's 2 layers of apartments. And I think the commercial just generates so much heat that the apartments don't need to use much heat because it's just all flowing up.
Well, that's a
And
good
man, I'll tell
spot.
you, I was
That's a
not
good
mad about
spot. Well,
it.
good for you.
Thanks, man. We'll see
I
what
can't say
next
the
month
same.
is like, okay? But
Wow, that's amazing.
yeah. Mhm.
Furnish Finder and Square. Square, because I can easily set up my invoices on Square, and I can set them up to be reoccurring, that they go out every single month. And I can set that up based off of each individual's contract, because everybody's pay date is different. And so I don't have to worry about, okay, am I, missing an invoice? Did I send this invoice to this person? It's automatically set up in the beginning like that. And if they renew or extend their contract, then I just update it, and it just keeps going until the end date. So I love that aspect of it. And then I can always go
Love it.
back and check, what everything looks like when I'm running numbers. It's just easy to have everything like that in one place. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So just let me add before I answer that, I do use KeyCheck too. I use KeyCheck for background checks and credit checks, and I love that because it's really easy just putting in the information, having the guests do it on their back end, and then I get to see the information and see if
Mm-hmm.
they pass. So I mean, it's just really that simple. So I love KeyCheck too. But as far as Furnish Finder, what I love is that it's easy and you can easily go in and you can update your information. You can, like I said, sometimes you have to change the pricing based on what's going on. You can easily go in and update the pricing and save it, and it automatically updates. You can easily go in and change your pictures because every now and then it's good to have a refresh. You may have somebody that's looking on there that maybe they didn't rent with you at first and they're extending their contract, but where they're living now, they can't extend, so they have to move somewhere else. And so they've seen you before. And so when they go and see you again, maybe for that same unit that they may have been interested in, I'm able to go in and update my photos. So all of those things,
Mm-hmm.
it being easily accessible, that's what I like about Furnish Finder. The other thing is that it automatically notifies me on my phone and my email when someone is interested. So that's another thing. All I get is a little ding. I have a special little ding for Furnish Finder, and I know what's going on when I hear that. And so, yeah, I love that.
Love it.
It's just a
It's just
simple.
a ding, Kelly. Just a ding.
No, no. I get the cha-ching when people pay their housing fee.
There you go. Well, Dee, it was so good to talk to you. I think you brought so much value to our guests and really showed everyone how if you want to make something happen, darn it, like go out and do it. I love everything you've said. I love everything you're doing. And if you're listening and you have not checked out Dee's properties, you are missing out. Go look because they're beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
You can connect with me at luxhighendproperties.com. You can reach out to, you can reach us on phone at 660-600-1939, or you can send us an email at luxhighendproperties@gmail.com.
Love it.